What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Roots. So I'm going to review the second album by Gucci Mane. Basically, this project is called Hard to Kill, and it came out in the fall of 2006. Now, the thing about this particular album is Gucci Mane was still pretty low key back in these days. He was trying to beat like a murder case as far as that pitch kind of particularly happened with it back in. He was trying to beat like a murder case as far as that pitch kind of particularly happened with it in like the mid late 2000s as far as that kind of went. But looking after this, he did have a couple of big hits off of his Trap House album from like the spring of 2005. Gucci Mane did have a series of hits off of his Trap House album from the spring of 2005. Hits like Black Tea and Icy and some of those type pitches. Definitely a pretty hit album. I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to reviewing that album down the road, but this is a pretty quality album here. I feel like it may not be quite as superb, may not be quite as full-blown super duper as Back to the Trap House, State vs. Raging Davis, some of those type ones, but it is going to get a rather high score. I would have to say, I do like this album, really like the album artwork on this particular one, just a real pitch type one. Has some good hits on here that you can't, some good hits on here that are just stock and vintage Gucci, and it's just the concept that this album's kind of mildly revolutionary just because this is a different pitch of trap music, different from like the stuff that Young Jock, Young Dro, T.I., Jeezy, some of those type folks were kind of doing in like 2006, 2007. So it's an interesting type pitch because a lot of this sound, the Zaytoven type sound and stuff like that was going on in trap music with folks like Gucci Mane and OJ the Juice Man, this wouldn't manifest until later in like the early 2010s as far as that pitch can happen with it. So Gucci Mane was carving out and fleshing out a sound on this particular album as far back as 2005 and 2006, and a lot of this works pretty heavily. I'd have to say it's just some good pitches to kind of get this. It's just pretty awesome that this was out way back in 2006 because I think the concepts of it, this would have been some awesome stuff to kind of a lot of this just had some good boppish type appeal. But Gucci Mane was low key back in these days. He didn't really have like a gigantic amount of hits. Like Jeezy was still outstripping him in terms of like chart appeal back in these days. Same thing with T.I. and Lil Wayne and some of those trap rappers that were more popular around that particular time. But he definitely was like on the underground scene and doing stuff like that. So it's just a good enough concept to kind of say that. You know, it's been said that Gucci Mane is one of the architects of like trap music, especially out of the 2000s, as far as that pitch can happen. So it's just some interesting stuff to kind of see one of these architectural type ones that's just not like a commercial smash like when you think of T.I.'s King or Jeezy's Thug Motivation 101 or Young Jock's New Jock City, some of those type ones, Lil Wayne's The Carter 2, some of those type pitches just within that relative fold. It's just kind of a good concept because I do feel like I was saying, this is kind of like a mildly revolutionary type album. It definitely had the groundbreaking kind of trailblazing type sound on here. It's just the fact that it didn't have like the huge commercial smash like that would have been all over the billboard. Like, I mean, Icy was a pretty big deal of a song, so was Black Tea, some of those type ones, but they weren't like super huge. Gucci Mane didn't get huger until like later in the late 2000s and early 2010s. But it's just kind of the concept. This is just kind of the album. This is kind of one of the albums before the album as far as that pitch can have. And it's definitely a quality one to fuck with because there's a lot of good quality stuff on here, I'd have to say. So some good stuff. There were two singles off this project, one of which is the early bird version of Freaky Girl, which later on had a remix with Lil Kim and Ludacris on there as far as that pitch can happen. But there's also a song on here called My Chain. I was underneath the impression that there were a few more singles beyond these two. I originally thought, I think on Wikipedia maybe back in the day, used to say that songs like Pills were singles, and then there was another one called Go Ahead that were kind of singles. I thought that there were a few more singles off this particular project. There were definitely some popular kind of club bops on here that made a lot of noise, but maybe they weren't released as singles. But I can at least confirm that My Chain was. But I kind of felt like, I know that Pills I Might Be was a single on like Back to the Trap House. I just think it's just kind of more of like a promotional single and things of that relative pitch, I'd have to say. But we'll go ahead and talk about the singles here. So once again, the first single is My Chain. Definitely a pretty dope one. This is a Zaytoven type beat. This should feel real familiar to fans of classic Gucci Mane just within the 2000s type fair as far as that pitch kind of has, with a definitely pretty stock hit here. It's just like a real typical kind of vanilla type Gucci Mane type song, but I do appreciate this one. It's like a vintage kind of Gucci Mane hit, I'd have to say. It's like a stock 2000s night outing flash of a song, I'd have to say. This is a good buzz single, I would definitely feel like, and this is definitely one that gets you energized. So I appreciate this one. Once again, the particular sound off this particular album is just different because it's different from like the stuff that was going on in like 2000s trap with songs like Shoulder Lean and It's Going Down. Songs like Shoulder Lean and It's Going Down and some of those type pitches. But Gucci Mane was in the ring and that type of stuff. in 2006, and this was his single that was kind of going on in the dominant in like the ringtone rap era of like the summer 2006 as far as that pitch can happen. So good tune here. Not quite as full blown catchy, but it is a stock type tune. This is like vintage kind of Gucci Mane here, I would have to say. Is this kind of the concept of this. It's not like a ringtone type smash like Freaky Girl or some of those type ones, or Pills, which is also known as I Might Be. I'd I'd have to suppose, but it is some good concepts kind of get some of these just because these are some of these initial kind of Gucci Mane hits as he was starting to flesh out things a lot more and just kind of get towards it. So it's a good concept. Do you like My Chains? The basic kind of Gucci Mane song was still pretty nice, boppish one to kind of get. And then the original version of Freaky Girl is the second single. Now, I do think there were more singles, but we'll just go ahead and just talk about these two. So, Freaky Girl is like a vintage kind of Gucci Mane hit in like the original format. I'd have to say it doesn't have the guest rappers on here, but this is a great dance tune. I would definitely feel like. And this song is a jivey, social, Friday night hype of a song, I'd have to say. It's a pretty dope concept. Get this one in particular. Definitely a pretty distinct beat, I'd have to say, on this particular song. It's a real good rump shaker for the ladies as far as that pitch kind of particularly happens with it. It's a real nice dance to it. It's one of the more kind of commercial type ones that just has a lot of good bopish type appeal of it. But I'm glad that Gucci Mane does have some nightclub bops on here. It's a pretty good concept. Get this, because this is a trap album, I would definitely say. It's kind of the blend of what kind of happens on here, but it's filled with kind of glitzy kind of nightlife just on this particular product. And this is definitely a good example. This is probably the commercial one, but I just think it was just different background these particular times because Gucci Mane hadn't really charted that heavily up to this point because Gucci Mane hadn't charted that heavily up to this point in 2006. So it's a good enough concept, definite good commercial smasher, I'd have to say. So there's 15 songs on this particular album, and out of those 15, I wound up recommending to you 10. So I'll go ahead and recommend those 10 songs, and we'll get towards it. So the 10 songs I recommend would be My Chain, Freaky Girl, Everybody Know Me, Pills, Go Ahead, Street Niggas, Drive Fast, Stick 'em Up, Trap Girl, and Trap Stars. So basically, Pills is a pretty highlighted one. This was also on Back to the Trap House from 2007 with Shauna and the Game on there, but this is the one in the original format. This is like a druggy, kind of sluggish nightclub hazer of a song, I'd have to say. This is a great ambient, kind of swashed energy this song particularly kind of has. This is a smoke one, too, and I would definitely feel like in this song. The song has social spark, I'd have to say, and this is a pretty dope song in particular. So this is probably one of the best songs on the album. This is probably one of the best songs on the album, I'd have to say. Definitely a good nightclub type beat. Just has a lot of good flash about it. Just some great weekend type music. Just some overall kind of social appeal that just has a lot of good affability about it and just overall catchiness. I'd have to say just real boppage type one. Works with Freaky Girl, works with Go Ahead. These are some of the most litty type moments. There's just some good Friday night appeal off this particular project. I feel like a lot of these, when you just got done with you got done with tasks and errands and stuff like that, and it's Friday night, some of those type pitches, just a good night type appeal. These are great tunes to kind of have for some 2000s type fare, especially considering the fact that Gucci Mane wasn't one of the hugest breadwinners, especially when Gucci Mane wasn't one of the hugest commercial breadwinners out of the 2000s, I'd have to suppose. It's a pretty nice one. Go Ahead is another good highlight. This is probably one of the best songs on the album, I'd have to say. This is a very trippy kind of dance club and evening flash of a song, I'd have to say. This song has a great nitty beat, I would definitely feel like. Nitty's the producer behind Young Jocks. Is Going Down. I'd have to say pretty nice one for that sort of pitch. This is just some Friday night pizzazz, I would have to say, and this is just a stock kind of Gucci hit. So it's definitely one of the best on the album. This has a real kind of menacing type. Go Ahead just has a real litty type nightclub type beat that just works pretty heavily. Just a great dance tune, works well with Freaky Girl, some of those type pitches. A lot of these that I'm going to point out are some pretty good boisterous type ones. Gucci Mane definitely has a good taste in nightlife on this particular album, more so than certain folks, I'd have to say. This is just like a different kind of just more sleek and darker type trap appeal. This is just a good assortment of like some sleeker, kind of darker, more trap appeal that was just different from the stuff, once again, from 2006, 2007, as far as that pitch can happen. He was definitely carving out his own lane here, and a lot of these are just pretty boisterous and just overall pretty just awesome, I'd have to say. Just real kick-ass as far as that pitch can happen with it. So it's another nice one. One of the best songs on the album is Everybody Know Me. This is a definite highlight. This is an excellent gem, one of the album's best. Like I was saying, this is filled with charisma. I would definitely have to say about this song. This is just a sleek kind of night crawling club hit, I would definitely feel like. And this is excellent produced, and this overall just a very super stellar kind of song, I'd have to say. This really has a lot of appeal, a lot of good swag on there. Gucci Mane may not oftenly talk about swag, but this is definitely one that has some good. This is definitely one that has some pretty charming charisma just within that relative pitch. It has, suppose, this is another nightclub hazer. This works great for Friday night, just like Freaky Girl, Pills, and Go Ahead. Some of those type ones. Just the social kind of appeal of this particular album is pretty boisterous, I'd say. Just right down to the album cover and stuff like that, you can tell that this is going to be some litty times, some stunt type times, and stuff like that. Just for some excellent flexing and just overall nightclub gloss as far as that pitch comes. These are just some excellent ones that just have a lot of appeal. Some good stuff. Street Niggas is another one that's like that. This is another sleek song, I'd have to say. It's like a sleek kind of night outing life flash. Street Niggas is like a sleek kind of night outing life flash of a song, I'd have to say. This is full of glitz, I would have to say. This is a superb kind of pull up tune, I would have to say, and this is just a heavy hitting. And this song is pretty heavy hitting for 2000s type era, I'd have to say. This is definitely a trailblazing type song. This definitely reminds me of some. This song is definitely an early bird type tune for some of the litty type trap type appeals that would happen in like the early 2010s and like the mid 2010s as far as that pitch kind of have. Definitely an early bird just within that relative pitch to kind of get this sort of stuff. This is a great pull up type song. This is an excellent kind of flashiness pianist that just has a lot of appeal. Sounds just pretty visceral in terms of what you would hear in 2006 as far as that particular kind of happens. It's definitely state of the art as far as that pitch kind of happens with it. So it has a lot of gloss and glitz about it. I have to say, Drive Fast is another highlighted one. This is a pretty boppish type one. I'd have to say this song is a surprisingly in between kind of evening activity jive of a song. I'd have to say this is a getting errands done type tune. I would have to say, in a smoke one tune definitely. I would feel like in this song just has some overall liveliness about it. So this is a boppish type one. This is definitely one for some car centric type stuff. I'd have to suppose pretty good concept to get this one in particular, just like an errands type tune, just within the pitch, or just like evening type fare, just something of that relative assortment. The song is called Drive Fast, but just the concept of just being outing. Drive Fast is just some evening outing commerce and activities and stuff like that, I'd have to say, within that pitch. But it's just surprisingly kind of ho-hum and energy, I'd have to suppose. I mean, it's lively, but it's just kind of the concept. It's not like, for a song called Drive Fast, it's not like frenetic and crazy and feral as far as that pitch kind of has with it. So it's just an interesting concept for some errands and just kind of in-between type moments. Stick 'em Up would probably be a better suited name for Drive Fast. I'd have to suppose. Pretty good concept. The song Drive Fast should have been on the beat for Stick 'em Up. I'd have to say, pretty good concept. This is like a terrific kind of amongst the night jazz of a song. I'd have to say this is like an after hours fun. The song is some after hours fun. I'd have to say this is a good nightclub hit. I would definitely feel like, but it's also a residential type tune. So I feel like this could definitely be one for some snackage, just hitting up the gas station 1 a.m., 2 a.m., some pitches like that, just getting donuts and Chex Mix, those sorts of things. At Pepsi, some of those type pitches. Pretty good, just lively type song that just has a lot of good night crawling type appeal about it, just within that relative pitch. Also, a good song for the ladies as far as that pitch kind of happens. Also, a good song for the ladies as far as that pitch kind of happens. I like Lil Chat kind of being on here. I want to say that she was a part of 3 6 Mafia. I kind of know her, but not as full blown as I know Gangsta Boo, I'd have to say, but she's pretty cool chica on this particular song, I have to say. So it's a good residential type fare for the ladies, just within a night flash of it. Trap Girl's another highlighted one. Definitely appreciate this one. This is like a good Murky's kind of ladies rider of a gem. This is a good murky kind of ladies rider of a gem, I'd have to say. It's pretty good evening 2000s trap malaise, I would have to say, for chicas. I would definitely feel like this song is just prolific and trill kind of fun, I would have to suppose. Definitely good concepts for just some evening outing activities with the ladies as far as that pitch kind of happens. Just kind of in a more trap sense. If you got some ladies out there that like trap music just within that particular pitch, especially 2000s trap, this is a good example of one. Just because Gangsta Boo was not commonly on these songs, not terribly many folks fucked with her back in like the mid-late 2000s, back when trap was really starting to blossom as far as that pitch kind of happened with it. I can't really think Young Dro and Young Jock, some of those type folks, and Jeezy, some of those type folks weren't really full blown messing with Gangsta Boo as far as that pitch can happen, and LeChat, some of those type folks. But Gucci Mane did. It's a good concept. Once again, some of these off to the wayside kind of alternative trap type tunes that just work pretty well. At least alternative for like 2006, that has supposed to. So it's a good enough concept for that. Trap Stars is another highlight. This is definitely another stock kind of almost vanilla strip club night outing fun of a song. I'd have to say this is an easy white noise to kind of listen to get crunk and socialize. I'd have to suppose. It's a pretty good concept for that. So Trap Stars is just kind of a stock night out. Once again, just kind of a vanilla type pitch just within that relative format. Just kind of a stock kind of one, just kind of a stock and factory typical kind of hit to kind of get for 2000s type for just a real nice night outing one for like strip clubs, night outings, just as far as that pitch kind of happens. It's a real kind of highlighted one. Definitely appreciate that one. Definitely kind of appreciate that one. I just really like the overall night glitzy kind of appeal of this particular album. Just a real nice shot in the arm as far as that pitch kind of happens. And definitely one that's kind of off the wayside. Very underrated for like 2006. I'd have to suppose in mid 2000s fair, just because Gucci Mane was not commonly as much talked about. So I definitely have to recommend. There are definitely some boilers on here that can get things started pretty quickly if you do fuck with this project, apart from just like the usual breadwinners like Young Jock, Lil Wayne, Young Jeezy, some of those type folks as far as that pitch kind of happens with it. But yeah, this is a pretty super stellar album here. So me recommending 10 songs out of 15 on this particular album. I'm gonna go ahead and give this album like an 8.5 out of 10. There were 5 songs I didn't recommend on here to talk about those. There were just kind of some awkward topics on here like Blow Pop and Big Cat LaFleur. There were just kind of some awkward productions and topics on here like Alley Cat, Blow Pop, and Big Cat LaFleur that just didn't add up to much. Those are just kind of awkward ones that didn't really have much appeal or overall pizzazz about them that really worked that well. Same thing with We Live This. We Live This was just kind of a dramatic type one that just didn't work that well as far as that pitch can happen with it. It was just kind of a poor type one that just didn't really jump off the page. It was just kind of an awkward type one on here that just didn't really match the rest of the album, at least in terms of the conveyance behind it. The energy of this song was just kind of mismatched and stood out like a sore thumb, I suppose. And then Hold That Thought was just kind of an awkward type one. Now, really, this is the type of song that Migos and folks like that kind of did later in like the early 2010s and mid-late 2010s as far as that pitch can happen, but just didn't really pull off the energy type well. It's kind of a trailblazing type song, but I just didn't really appreciate the vibe of that one particularly that much, I'd have to suppose. But yeah, basically 10 out of 15, 8.5 out of 10. The social score, 8.5 out of 10. The social score, I'm going to go ahead and give like a 9.5 out of 10 because it definitely had some social spark about it. The social score of this particular album is going to get a 9.5 out of 10 because I feel like this had a lot of good glitz glitzy appeal about it. Just a lot of good weekend type life and flashy type Friday night appeal that just was very appealing. Just overall had good jump off the page and immediate type factors about it. Songs like Pills, Go Ahead, Freaky Girl, Everybody Know Me, some of these type ones, Street Niggas, My Chain, some of those type ones are just really, these are just some real immediate type ones just within the night type sense of just like weekend, just within the night type sense of weekend appeal and overall residential type fare as far as tearing things up and just getting crunk in some of those type pitches. I would definitely have spoke to some real good kind of glossiness and just overall residential spark and just things like that. Nightclub appeal, residential type appeal, smokage, snackage, things like that, just real good. Just evening life as far as that pitch kind of go, as far as that pitch kind of particularly goes along with it, I'd have to suppose. So social score gets 9.5. Definitely underrated. Once again, this is underrated for 2006. I'd have to say a good concept just to kind of see this project off to the wayside and fuck with it, despite the fact that these hits are more low key and just kind of like early bird kind of trap rumblers that would be more revolutionary 7, 8, 9 years later, I would have to say. So in terms of the future, like Gucci Mane dropped an album in late 2023 with BG as far as that pitch can happen. Then he also dropped an album in October 2023. There's definitely a good assortment of these albums I want to get to in mixtapes as far as that pitch can happen with it. We're definitely going to get to some more Gucci Mane soon enough as far as that particularly kind of goes. This is a highlighted one here. This is damn near a classic, pretty close, definitely a revolutionary type project. Definitely did some early bird trap type stuff, and I do recommend it quite a bit. It's off to the wayside, but what I'd have to say it's worth fucking with just because this was kind of a page turner as far as that pitch can happen with it. Just some good stuff that was kind of ahead of the times, I'd have to say.